Okay, so today I'm going to show how to disassemble and clean your Wrangler. First things first, make sure it's unloaded. Everything's been safety checked before the video. The first thing you want to do is push this little pin in right here, and then you're going to pull this pin out. Once that pin's out, all you have to do is open up the feeding gate. Your cylinder will pop right out. Once you have the cylinder out, first thing I like to do is run a bore snake through it. I'll put some oil down the barrel first just to help things not get stuck, and it just gives it a bit of lubrication. I always think that's best. Once you get some oil in there, you can put some on your bore snake as well if you'd like, but I think it'll be okay just like this. Feed the bore snake down into the barrel. And you're just going to pull it through. I find this usually gets out any loose carbon buildup or anything in there that you don't want before you start running patches through it. So once we get this on, we can start running some patches through it. I usually start with a solvent. Just let it soak in there. That'll help break up anything that's stuck in there, and it's just a good way to start, and it'll help you use less patches in the end. So I'm just going to spray some solvent on one of these patches. Okay, once you get your patch on, you're going to want to run it through your barrel. Now, I'll usually let the solvent sit for about a minute or so, like I previously said. So now that the solvent's been sitting in there for a couple minutes, I'm going to run a dry patch through to clean out any leftover solvent. And while you wait for the solvent to sit in there, you can always start cleaning the cylinder. So this patch came out a little bit dirty, so what I usually do is I do a solvent patch, a dry patch, an oil patch, and then I just keep repeating until it's clean. So we're going to run a oil patch down the barrel next. It's actually pretty clean, so I'm going to do just a couple more oil ones, or oil dry. So I'll run a dry one. Because of how clean it is, I don't really want to use any more solvent right now. That came out pretty clean. So I think I'm going to do just one more oil patch and then call that good enough. I'm not going for a perfect clean because I do shoot it often, but I did want to make this video and show how easy they are, and it's something anyone can do. Okay, so that patch is coming out pretty much clean. I'm going to call that good, and I'm going to move on to doing the cylinder. So cylinder is pretty easy. What I usually do is I usually just poke a brass brush through them all, clean out any crud that's built up, and then I'll just wipe it down. You don't really got to worry too much about it as long as it's not getting a bunch of buildup. It's not going to affect accuracy. You just don't want a bunch of buildup of carbon or lead, anything like that in your cylinder. So I'm going to go ahead, put my brass brush on, and clean this out. Okay, so I'm gonna spray just a little bit of oil down there. I will dry it out after. This bottle's almost empty. That's okay, still got some in there. So just gonna run my brass brush through each of the cylinder holes. Okay, so now that that's done, you're going to want to focus on the back a bit because sometimes you can get a bit of a carbon buildup on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a brush and just start brushing this a little bit. So before I start scrubbing it with a nylon brush, I'm just going to put a little bit of solvent on there. Nothing crazy. I would wear gloves, but I just ran out. Get a little bit of a scrub, try and get anything loose on top of that cylinder and break it free. Okay, so I'm going to wipe that off, wipe the cylinder off, and then I like to use a degreaser. If you're going to use brake clean, use a non-chlorinated one, and I usually just like to blast everything dry, make sure there's no solvent or oil left in there, because with a revolver especially, it's just gonna really stick to it all. Okay, and then this stuff air dries, so I'm just gonna leave that sit a minute and then we can put it back together. So before you put it back together, I would recommend brushing in around the chamber and maybe a little bit on the back part. I usually just spray a little bit of oil and scrub it with a nylon brush. You can get a bit of carbon buildup right around there for these, so it's not a bad idea to scrub it out when you have the cylinder off. Okay, I'm going to wipe it down with just a dry patch. Clean up any leftover oil there. Okay, now that you have everything fully cleaned out, we did the barrel, we did the cylinder, we did in and around the chamber, we're going to put everything back together. So you want to make sure the feeding gate is open, and then you're just going to drop your cylinder back in, close the feeding gate, and then you're just going to put your pin just back in as it originally was. Now you will have to push this pin in, the one that you pushed in to take it out, and sometimes it's a bit hard to line up, but it will slide in. You'll hear it click, and then your cylinder is back in there as it should be. I'd always pull the hammer back a few times, make sure it rotates okay, and essentially that is it. You will want to pay attention behind your hammer and firing pin every now and then. That will get dirty, but mine looks pretty good right now. So all there is to it. There's nothing fancy. It's super easy. And then I usually will just do a light coat of oil on my gun with a patch if I'm putting it in the safe for a while. So if you like this video, I'm going to be doing a bunch more like it with lots of different guns. And I will be doing an ammo test video with this handgun. So thanks for watching and consider subscribing.